today we're keeping things basic. But we're trying to tell that what are the processes involved when developing, designing, and pushing a new API as a backend developer. Without any further ado, let's get into a website. So for instance, I use Eraser.io just for designing how the thing's gonna work. So let's just log into it. Who I am a software engineer working for past 4 years in the field of backend engineering. So I can the methods that I'm going to tell you is going to apply on both the front end, the back end, machine learning, any field you're going to work on. All right, so let's just call it a backend API development process. So how the things is going to work. Okay, let's keep the canvas open and just put it like nope, don't put it this. Let's just put it in the dark mode. It's gonna be easier for you to see. All right, so it involves in 3 major steps. First of all is the task. Like it goes in what is the task and what is the purpose, and what is the purpose of it. Oh, that's the one. That's the functional requirement you get from your project manager or your client or the application, whatever it is. Then it is, let's say it is assigned to you, so you have it and it goes into your assignment. So you have now assigned this task. So let's say it is assigned to you now. We have it now. The thing is, now you have got the ticket, you're starting to develop this feature, and we just keep it simple. So let's say to print or to show the employee details. So you're in any website, and whenever you click on the person or your employee, you're in the admin panel, and you must see that details, the contact details, address, phone numbers, everything of that employee. So let's say this is the purpose of this API. Now, before you start doing the development straight up, like you just there could be another path from this. Like you just go here and you just start coding. This could be one thing for you, and you start coding. You write if you're in the Node.js, you write services, you write controllers, middlewares, and how to get the data, show the data in response, and then push and deploy, and this could be a couple of things. So once you do this, let's say it gets deployed. After this, you test on your own, and there's actually a small thing here as well. Let's just don't attach it like this. Attach it here. Perfect. And let's say we have what you call dev testing. So it's something that you test on your own. It's a basic testing, and then it goes into the deployment. Perfect. That's the basic process. And what it happens once it's deployed, you deliver it to front end. So we deliver it to FE. FE refers to front end. And then the major problem happens. The major problem happens whenever the FE is going to see he's not going to like the response, or there's problem with the APIs, you're not getting the data perfectly, or your PR is not even getting merged to the deployed branch. Then it's going to return back. Let me just keep it straight up, and it's going to return back to the coding. That's how it's going to be. It's a hilarious process, and you just keep on in this loop. Like, so for instance, an API is going to take you about 8 hours to implement. Let's say the ticket was assigned as a complete working day, and you do all that kind of stuff like this kind of stuff in a complete one day, and at the end of the day you test it, and then you put it into the deployed and you deliver it to the front end, and front end is going to see and start integrating in, and they see, oh my god, there is something missing in it, there is a key missing, there is a phone number missing, or you don't have a full name of the employee, you just provided the first name, man. You don't have the profile picture of his. So this could be multiple things, and then he's going to return it back to you, and you're going to start the coding again on the next day, and again then deploy is going to take you about 2-3 hours of you. It's a pretty tedious project, and it's going to go into the front end, and it's going to create a problem for you as well more. So what you can do and what you should do to avoid all of these things. So let's just put it the same thing we did. Let's just put it like this. There we go. Okay, so what we can do is what we need to do, we need to just unlink this relation. Just don't do this. Keep whatever the process is, just don't do this. You're gonna give it, come here, and you're gonna design the task. We're keeping the tasks. You can say anything. Okay, so you can, we're saying this the task, you can say anything, an API, a component of the web front end, a model for machine learning, anything you want. Okay, just the task. So you divide it into multiple tasks. So design is going to be designing the task. Designing the task is, we break down into multiple steps, like breaking the task into at least 3 to 5. So let's keep 3 to 5 subtasks. So what it's gonna do now, clearly, just listen to me, just bear with me, guys. So let's say the task is you need to get you are provided the user ID. So user ID comes here, and that comes into the API, and that goes into your method, whatever you're writing the function, and it's gonna get the user details. Oops, it's gonna get the user. It's gonna see if that user exists in the list. Let's say it's the list, and then it's gonna give details of that user. So user, we check, we get the details, and then we response. So then we return. So this is the tasks. Now this task is used to make the API, and then we have another things in the backend like migrations. So we just name it DB, let's say database migration, and then we have the deployment. So let's say deployment. So these two things, again, two separate tasks. So so we can break all of these things into this. So in this way, when each thing gets made, like once you set up this input, like the controller and the middleware, so it takes the user as an input, so you just commit it to the GitHub. That's the one task done. You check it up straight away. So let me just list it down here. Okay, so just keep it, and let's write it here. Let's say we get the setup the controller, and just the method. Set up the controller and the method. That's all it's gonna take the input, and it's not gonna do anything. Maybe it's just gonna print the console or anything. That's the first task. And the second task goes in handle checks. So handle checks. That's the second task. And then get user details, and then response. So response is basically, it's a very important factor in the backend development. Like you need to map the response as required by the front end, so the front end can use it similarly in different objects, arrays, or everything. You can even combine these two tasks as well. So you can just say get the user details, and we can clarify, get the user details, and then we can say handle checks. Handle checks mean handle nil checks. So in case we don't get any data, we know what to show rather than the API getting crashed that it doesn't have any data. So it's say just 4 steps, all right, and then it's the DB migration, if any, and deployment. Let's keep it just 1. Okay, so you have this design, you have the task designed. Now what you're gonna need to do, you're gonna list what is important for you to design in the architecture. What is important? Is it important? You can do that. Is it important? The point number 2, 3, 4, whatever. So for that, what we're gonna do, we're gonna create one thing, and that's gonna be the last step of, since we're gonna start the deployment development. So remember, guys, up till now we haven't started the coding, we're just designing it. So let's say we take 30 minutes in setting up this. It's a basic API, so you're going to take about 40 minutes till just describing the task. So in this case, let's say we make this big because it's now we're designing the structure, guys. Let's say we have the structure, so we know we have something like this. Let's say we say that user ID gets the inputted, so we know it's the input. It goes into our method, and then the user then we get check if user exists. That's something you're gonna check, and then after this we're gonna create another. Let's say get the user details if okay, let's say, and then we are getting the user details, and then we are just mapping the response. Okay, even though you can also add another step in it, as in like sorry, excuse me, guys, as in like you can do something like wait, for your easierness, because we're taking time to design. So this is something you can do. So you can just completely say we need the first name, the last name, the pic, the phone contact, address, blah 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 blah, and that's how going to be the object. So you know how the response is going to be. So that's, you're gonna get the details. You're gonna say map the response. So the response gonna be mapped up like this. In fact, let's not do this. Let's do that. We're mapping the response. So maybe we don't get the response like this from the database. So now we're basically mapping the response. Okay. Once the response has been mapped up, we're just leaving the one tasks. Okay. So you see, we are just leaving the handled nil checks. No, we're not. Basically, what we're gonna do here is just keep this, and let's say throw error or show null. It's gonna link to this. This is gonna link to this, and mapping the response. So once we have all the nil data, we can just map the response. So you see how we're handling the nil responses as well. Once we have the response set up, what we do is just create just final output, deployment, and we just map this straight up like this. Okay, that's how simple it is. That's how simple the whole process is. And you see, we have the whole task now laid up in front of our eyes. Now we can even ask the question. Either we're gonna throw the error or show the null. That's the question for the project manager or the client, whatever the scenarios might come up. It's a basic API. If you go into the more detailed one, you should see the scenarios, the multiple scenarios. So that is once it's done, once you are all set up, so let's say it has taken about, let's say, 2.5 hours. You laid down the complete architecture, saying the database, from which table you're going to get the data, you add it in here, from which table you're going to get multiple data, combine them if it is a big API. So let's say you take 2.5 hours in doing that in your research. You have this whole structure ready up. What do you need to do now? You just need to do this. That's what you need to do. It is as simple as that, guys. You then start the coding. You have everything in front of your eyes. You know which table you want to go to, which response you want to show. So you just don't put pressure on your mind anymore. You're just doing the coding. You're just doing the syntax work. Once it's done, you test, you deploy, and you deliver it to FE. Since you have laid everything, and there is something you cannot miss, there's a high chance, 90% chance, that it's gonna be FE approved. They're not gonna return back to you. In case they return it, it's a development process, but the chances are much lesser now, and it's a process you learn. So that's the whole process of the development goes in the backend. So once it's done, it's the development process done. So how we're naming this is the task. We're designing the task. So in this way, you get 5 commits at least in that branch you're working on. So what you're gonna do is how this gonna work. This is the designing. This is the development. Let's say how we're doing handling the GitHub as well. So we're gonna do this side by side. Let's do it on a little up. So let's zoom in a little. Perfect. So this is our GitHub branch. Let's call it the main, or let's say it's the deployed branch, or /main branch, or / it's the UAT. I'll make a video of UAT, what UAT is, in the later. If you want to see, just let me know. Okay, so let's say this is that main branch, and we are making another branch, from, let's call it branch from. Okay, so why we're calling it branch from? So from main branch we created another branch. Let's call it the task. So it will be named on the basis of that tasks. Okay, or in simpler words, in the development words, let's call it the sprint. So you get the sprint, you get one sprint, and in sprint you have multiple tasks, multiple features. So that's how it goes. And then let's say this task to get these employee details is a part of a feature, and the feature is show employee details. It's a complete feature, it's a complete screen, it's a complete flow. We create a branch of feature. Okay, and then we create the branch for the task. So from the sprint we create of the main feature. So we're working on the employee details feature. That's the complete flow. So then for that we're taking the task. So it could be a multiple, let's say like this. Let's put it here. So there can be multiple tasks. Let's say task 2. So the first task could be get the employee details. The second task could be edit the employee details. So you just create branches out of it like these. And the third task could be delete the employee. These all are tasks. So you create task, and then from the task, let's say this is the task we're working on, we create another branch. If you want to, I just don't prefer it. If we're in the task branch, that's it. That's all, pretty much it. And then we do one thing, and we put our dev code into it. That's our coding. So whatever we're coding, it's going into this task branch straight up. And from this task branch, we're going. So we're putting the task branch. We're doing everything. It's going into the task branch. The task branch has the complete feature of this. So you will get you do this, like you do set up the controller and view method, you check it and you put it and you push it, you get one push. And then you get the user details, you set this up, you check it, you push, you get 2 commits. You handle the nil checks, you push, you check it, you map the responses accurately as you want it to, you check it, you push it, and then it's the DB migration. So you just cannot push it. For that you need to create the PRs now. So the first PR will go from here to here, and then it'll go from let's say here to here, and then at final, when that PR will be approved, it'll go for the deployment. So deployment, that's it. So you're understanding everything, right? It's all the PRs, it's the pull requests. So you design all this pull request, and then you approve it, it goes into the feature branch, and then you do from the same, then you do for the same, the complete feature is set up, then you go into the sprint, and the sprint goes into the deployment, and it gets deployed. Front end can use it. You can do Y singly. Each task can also go to this flow. A whole tasks can go into the feature, and then sprint, and then this, whatever you like. So that's how you track everything in the GitHub as well. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you understand how the workflow is. Let's say if it is something you're working on the task branch, TK, and you're in the task branch, and let's say you are this employee, and on the other hand I am this employee. We both are in the same team, and I'm working on this task. The task is for deleting or editing the user details. So how are you gonna tackle that? Because if your code get pushed into the feature, I might be behind because I've created this branch 2 days before, in which your API was not present. So every day, that's the practice you should do. Every day you come and start doing the work at an office or whatever it is. You just take the pull from sprint, and then you take the pull. You fetch the sprint. You take the pull from sprint into the feature, and then you take the pull from the feature into the task, whatever you're working on. So in this way, let's say you're this task. Let me just change the color. Let's say your task today, I created this branch 2 days ago. This branch was created 2 days ago with a code that didn't had your API. Okay, so you started working on this task, and you push the task right now into this feature. My branch does not have this because it was made 2 days ago. Now today I start working on it. I take the pull from this to here. In this way I have the latest code, and I know what is crashing, what my API could crash with your API, or whatever the conflicts, everything. And then I push it, then I work, and then I push it into the feature. In this way the feature should always be the most updated and synced branch. Understand? That's how it goes. Alright, that's pretty much it, guys. I'm sure I've given plenty of knowledge to you guys, and you guys have understood. We'll be back with another video. I'm planning to do the development process. This is the development. Now I'm planning to do the workflow process video, in which how we're managing the workflow in the big tech companies. Let me know if you're interested. That's pretty much it. See you guys. Bye.